What's going on? If you're not watching this later on, that's right. I'm early. Of course, really, like no one's watching this instantly. Though that would be so cool. Suddenly things start popping up and everyone there I am. There's something egotistical about me. Just fucking loves that idea. But yeah, man, we're up. We're happening. We got a good show going on. I'm gonna make sure that this is all set up on the Book of Faces. Here we are. You better be able to hear me. And if not, man, I'll be okay. Public. All right. Let's see now. If you guys are there, comment. Yeah, Bankston's there. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. If you're there, like, share, comment. Brian Manel's in the house. Terrific. We're getting it happening. Oh, man, I've been drinking mostly water lately, and it's this carbonated water, and I don't know what it is. I think so for Lent. And people ask me this all the time. As soon as I say for Lent, they go, "You're Catholic?" The answer is indubitably fuck no. But I did, I did grow up doing Lent. I was Anglican, and so I thought it would be cool. Use Lent as a springboard to kind of make things better for myself. So one thing is I decided to go. What's happening? I'm just gonna do a show and talk to more people. You know how I does it. So for Lent, I decided to go vegetarian. So I think I'm like week and a half, 2 weeks in, something like that. About 2 weeks in, being vegetarian. It's been pretty good so far. Um, you should have given up that terrible water. I like the water, but I think for some reason the water mixed with the veggies, it's making me belch more than normal. And oh, Travis, I got you. Travis and I have a code. He gets me, I get him. Anyways, we got a fantastic show today. We've got a guy who actually I think he's trying to come up in my grill because he has two Kickstarters going on. I have a couple more than that. Like it. Whenever anyone takes a swing, I take a couple more back. You're just hurt because you're just a gesture of jerkdom. And I am the King Jerk. But yeah, I've got a couple Kickstarters going on, and you know what? Let's start with that real quick. Cthulhu Invade, or no, that's happening in just a couple days. Cthulhu Invades Oz is on its way. Keep your eyes, or Cthulhu Invades on Wonderland. Super excited for that. Keep up for that one, guys. But Cthulhu is Hard to Spell is on right now. I'm a part of that one. On Zoop, look for Shuffle. I'm on that book as well. Also, we've got Clarity Girl versus Base Force. That's on Kickstarter right now. And what's the other one? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the other book. And I know I'm super excited about that one too. Shit, I'll figure it out and then I'll apologize to that creator. But I'm on 4 books right now on Kickstarter, which is good. Good number, solid number. Gonna keep up with the numbers. But in the meantime, I have a guest. He's got two things on Kickstarter right now. So why don't we start this motherfucker up and get him sitting around? We've got Sam Quinton today. So guys, let's just do this up. And bam.
Canadian bacon is actually really good, and it's nothing like normal bacon, and it's better than ham, which you guys seem to call Canadian bacon. I'm very good at writing. I write very well. Yeah, it's Shop Talk.
Do some of your audience members like the word fuck? Cool, then I'm going to keep saying fuck, because I care.
What is up, Sam Quinton?
What's up, Chuck? How's it going, brother?
I'm doing good. Good to have you back on the show.
It's been a while. It's good to be back, man.
It has, right? It's always been too long. That's always the way it should. It should always feel like, we should do this more often. Because you never want to feel like you do it too often.
True enough. I'm going to start putting my face out here more, I guess.
What is up, Krista? Good to see you, hun. Now you've got 2 books on Kickstarter right now. How does that feel? Yeah, you do.
I do.
You do.
I have a contribution that we made for the Collective's Tales, which has the 47 Furious Tales in that, and a cover by the very esteemed Alexei Veldhausen, Phil Leon, the Electric Crayon himself. What's up, bro?
The Electric Crayon, that's great.
And then we also have 47 Furious Tales, issues 1 through 3. This is where we get issue 3 funded for printing and get everything shipped out. That's going really well. We funded in the first 51 minutes.
Dude.
We got officially, I think we have 15 days left. It's like 14 days and 23 hours and however many minutes or whatever. And we are heading towards our next stretch goal, which is at 5K. We're at 4,100 right now, I think. Really, really pushing to try and get up there and get everything done so we can do just some really cool stuff, including our ultra secret, top secret, My Lips Are Sealed kind of thing at the $15,000 stretch goal, which I haven't even told Alexia what it is. And so she keeps picking at it, and she's like, "You're making it up. You don't have anything." No, I got something planned for it. That's for sure. She's like, "Am I going to like it?" I'm like, "Of course you're going to like it. When have you not liked anything I've surprised you with?" And then I stop. I'm like, we'll go somewhere else there. But it's one of those things where just try to encourage everyone to have fun with us and bring this book to the world. I mean, you've read 47 Furious Tales 1 and 2. So, I mean, you know where we're at, waiting with 3 for the whole attack of the Grey Wolf Bandits and the Samurai of Asano to rise up and go put them down. And, man, it's the Battle of Furukawa.
Speaking of epic, right? Yeah, no, totally. And speaking of, I did remember the 4th book. It's Immortal Era, issues 1 through 6. I was able to come on that one and work on the last issue as editor, which was fantastic. So much love to Edward Davis. Check that book out. I apologize, guys, for forgetting about it. It's tough, man, when you got all this shit going on. And I mean, Sam, you and I were talking beforehand. You got all sorts of stuff going on. It's so easy to go, oh, fuck, what else is happening? What else am I doing?
I mean, you've got to plan out everything, make sure that you have your contingencies, line up production. I mean, my year for this year is six floppy comics. So we got 47 Furious Tales issue 3. We'll do 47 Furious Tales issue 4 later this year. Reign of Ages issue 1 was in January. We're going to do issue 2 in the summer. Necroholic 1 is in May, fulfilling in June, and we're going to do issue 2 later this year as well. And then next year we'll be adding on at least 2 other comic titles, maybe a 3rd one as a graphic novel. If my licensing deal goes through, more words on that after I sign. If I get to sign contracts, I guess I should say.
You're right.
But we're gonna pull a Sanderson on that one. We're gonna lock and load with every YouTuber and blogger and podcaster and streamer and say, everyone, we release this on this day, this time. Campaign go live. There you go. Boom. And that'll be how
that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty. That's a fun idea.
That'll be how we do it.
Right? No, that's a fun idea, man. So I mean,
just sit there and go, please fun.
Right? Well, okay. So obviously, you just mentioned this licensing deal, and obviously we can't go into it too much. Right. So why don't we go into some of the, I guess, the semantics around it? How do you draw out a deal like that?
I basically kept proposing and asking and nudging and trying to make the connections until I got someone to listen to me long enough to let me put some numbers in front of them. And so I've got just a couple other things I've got to dot the I's and cross the T's on. Like literally, I'm formatting the financials into the tables and everything. And then I should be emailing that out tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you are very much known for most of your stuff is very fantasy based. Is it safe to assume that were there a licensing deal, it would be in this vein?
That would be where you would assume. And
that's what I'm assuming.
That would be what you would assume. but you would not be correct.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. See, I thought you were going to leave me hanging, and that at least, I mean, it narrows it down somewhat.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. All right.
It could be like current age realism. Might have something to do with space. Might
Okay.
have nothing at all to do with that. I'm gonna lay down a lot of red herrings, and we'll see who snaps.
That's fair. So you know what? I'm gonna throw something at you because I haven't been able to right, and I haven't been able to actually, even my wife, I haven't been able to talk to her about this yet. I keep forgetting about it. Something that kind of hit me hard, and that is I had this amazing thing that looked like it was going to happen, and it now looks like it's not going to happen the way that I thought it was. So I guess what I would ask you is, of course we get excited about these opportunities and the thoughts, but what do you also do to kind of cushion the blow? Because we know that we always have to expect that it might just not work out the way we wanted. Are there certain things that you do to kind of, if it doesn't work out, of course you're going to roll with the punches and try again or do something else or aim elsewhere. That's all well and good, but you have to bury this baby first. So how do you kind of deal with that going in?
I already know what I do in place of that if that licensing deal doesn't come through. I mean,
so for you, you're already planning the second inception, so to speak,
right?
Or conception. Okay.
Basically, I've got the heavy workload we're under already, and then that project, and if that project can't move forward, then I have another one that I shift into place with it and continue to pursue it because it's something I'm really, really passionate about. I'm a little pig-headed. I am not the most stubborn person I know by any stretch of the imagination, but I am stubborn enough to be annoying. So,
it's funny. My mom, she was told early on, she'd be like, your son, he can be very stubborn, blah, blah, blah. And that was something that she was worried about too, is that, and she said later on, she said, I tried to blunt that with you, but it hasn't been until later on that what we perceived as stubborn is actually tenacious. And blunting tenacity is blunting a weapon. And I'm glad that and she was like, I'm glad that you didn't let me blunt that because you're only where you're at because you kept going. And so I think for the two of us, it's not stubborn, because stubborn often is, when I think of stubborn, I think of someone who, whether it's right or wrong, I'm going to do this.
Right.
And for you and I, it's not about whether it's right or wrong. We're always trying to do the right thing. It's no, I really want this thing to happen, and I'm going to find a way to do it and do it well. We don't want to half-ass it or nothing like that, but we want to find a way to get out there and do it well. So I would correct you as an editor and just say, no, you're not stubborn, you're tenacious.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a high compliment then.
It's true.
It's one of those things where you have to plan for the success, you have to plan for failure, you have to do the work for the prep work for both. So, I mean, you're putting in twice the work for potentially a fourth of the gain. You know what I mean? But you have to be prepared. You have to, put both of your best feet forward and then pull yourself, upright and keep marching on. It's definitely something that you learn in comics in particular, because comics is hard. Comics is hard. With comics, you have to have a lot of flexibility in your mindset and a lot of conviction in what you're making and the unrelenting drive to get back up and try again. Like 47 Furious Tales, right? First time we tried to fund issue 1, didn't work. That was on me. I wasn't as prepared as I'd like to be. We did succeed on the second attempt. Issue 2, didn't fund the first time, but we did the second. Issue 3, we were so close to funding on the first try. And then we didn't. And now we came back and we funded in 51 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
and it was the same day that Mr. Sanderson went live with his big secret
Oh wow.
projects novels. And
So do you
so,
think you got some of the Sanderson wave?
no, I think the first 30 or so people were all recurring backers. But I'll tell you what we did see is I launched live alongside Max DeVille with Atrocity Press. And at the time, Kickstarter lag was so high, you would have people pledging, and they wouldn't reflect on the total on the campaign page. So we were watching our dashboard, couldn't see the backer names that were coming in because it was that slow, and it would just pop up every few minutes on the dashboard, but still wasn't showing on the campaign. And I had a buddy of mine who was pledging for the highest tier we had, the Daimyo tier, and that was enough to get us fulfilled anyway. And we were like at $495 or something like that. He pledged at the 51-minute mark and bumped us right over and almost doubled our campaign total for our goal. So we were at like $995. And then I guess it was maybe 15 minutes later, the numbers started ticking up. But to give you an idea how bad the lag was, we launched at 7 p.m. at night. And normally when you launch on Kickstarter, you know this, you get an email from Kickstarter that says your campaign's gone live. I got that live campaign email at 11:30 the next morning. No joke.
Oh wow.
No joke. Timestamp on it and everything. Literally more than 12 hours later. It was horrendous.
Wow.
But that's what happens when someone's funding at that point like $15 million in under 12 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tremendous.
Well, now I heard, and I would love to hear your take on this, but there was a friend who was like, "Damn, Brandon Sanderson, he's taking he's shadowing the rest of our campaigns."
I don't agree with that.
Thank you, and I don't either.
I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I look at it this way: it's an open public platform, and I think that his success is well earned, certainly. And he brought his fan base to Kickstarter. Many of them have probably never been to Kickstarter before. They're going to have a good experience with his campaign because his team have obviously been very well prepped. They've been talking about it on his interviews for the last couple of weeks. And so I would expect that to fulfill just as described, a quarterly going forward after all the edits and productions, everything. I think it's going to be pretty smooth. And that kind of experience is only going to help enhance the audience's experience for the platform. And I think we'll eventually see some folks who stick around and maybe see what else is around. Sorry. See what else is around to be had, Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I did throw something down here for you guys out there. If you are running a campaign right now, or let's say you're ramping up for one, feel free to drop your link in there, man. You guys can always show your stuff up. It's not just about Sam and I and our shit. Certainly, we know that other people are trying to push their stuff too. So by all means, this is kind of I like to call this show sort of a neutral zone. Feel free to show off your stuff and talk about it, and hopefully it helps.
You know who's doing their first campaign ever?
Who's that?
Gage the Wolf. Now, that's obviously his nom de plume, but Gage has a campaign on right now titled Godslayers, Episode 1. And he's made a few changes to the campaign's look since it first launched. Max, Larry, myself, several other creators gave him some little tips of advice on changing the look of the layout of the page and everything. And it looks pretty good. The book, from what I understand, is done. I backed this myself for print copy, which is something I very rarely do. I usually do digital. And he's just short of 50% of goal with 18.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing far better than I did on my first campaign, that's for sure. So, Godslayers Episode 1, if you guys are looking for a new creator who's, really doing everything he can to succeed, check that out.
It's funny. So, and this will sound like a negative thing, but it's not. But I'm pretty sure Gage tried to add me on Facebook, and I think he did. Like, I think I accepted because he had a bunch of Kickstarter stuff going on. And then suddenly he wasn't there, and they were suggesting him as a friend. And I was like, I mean, we didn't even get the chance to talk, so I don't know whether there was a glitch in the old Kickstarter or whatever. Gage, if you're out there, you can feel free to add me again. I don't mind, buddy. But it was just something kind of, or hell, it could be Old Man Brain, and maybe he added me on Twitter. But I was pretty sure it was Facebook. But yeah, I have seen his stuff around, and so
Yep.
good for him. I hope I hope that works out.
And Max DeVille, our buddy Max.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's doing a new floppy every other month this year too. He'll have six floppy comics out. He and I are going to be running neck and neck all year long with those. It's going to be crazy, absolutely insane. And then of course the collective. I wonder if we're going to see any more projects out of the collective this year.
Well, so I've been told that they're aiming for some sort of Halloween spooky thing.
Ah.
And so they, we've spoken, and I don't know, man. Maybe something spooky will come out from me through collective. We'll see.
Sweet.
I'm gonna have to see if I can pull that off. Sam Bobby B Boys came on. He said, "How many issues of 47 Furious Tales will you do?"
Oh, so 47 Furious Tales is a total of 12 issues. Because we're telling the story of the 47 run-in, so there's our definite beginning, which is like the precursor to when things kick off, and basically introduces the audience to Asano Naganori, some of the key samurai, and then we move into issue 3 is basically covering an incident that's basically written as one of Kira's attempts to undermine, hopefully discredit, and throw suspicion upon Asano. And then book 4 will be where you typically see where most of the movie adaptations of the story and theatrical presentations, where it gets into Ito and Kira and Asano begin to come into direct conflict a little bit. So we'll go through that. And then unlike a lot of the theatrical and movie adaptations, we're spending a lot of time on that interval from between the death of Asano and the time that the 47 actually take their revenge. And we're covering a lot of the incidents and a lot of the underlying subterfuge and activities that were going on both camps to try and make this work. We spend a good amount of time talking about Kinemori, whose actions are really kind of understated through this, but without him, Kira may have gotten away. And the whole thing may have failed. We may never have had this huge, epic, historical event that we have today. He's definitely not like the brightest star in the sky on this, but his activities were definitely one of the big key factors in their success.
So you did mention the collective and all that. What you were only given like how many pages for the collective?
I think we did 8.
So, how do you do a small story out of such an epic tale for something like that?
I took and chose some of the pages out of issue 1 specifically that just gave like a brief introduction without spoiling the action on some of the underlying plot points, to kind of introduce people to what the setting and the people who are involved in there, and basically just keep a nice short little introduction so that folks can say, oh, hey, this, I like this. This is kind of cool. And of course, it's the easy part about this is it looks good. I mean, it's Alexia Veldhausen's art, so see some really phenomenal pieces.
So this is previously released material, or was there anything new to it?
Right, it's previously released material. Okay. Just we took the pages and basically pulled some pages out that were specifically related to certain story elements, and then shortened it down so that it would fit within the page space that we had.
Oh, cool. Okay, so this is going to be a really good introduction to new fans for the series.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's at the collective. The collective is one of the highest selling points as far as retailer goes for 47 Furious Tales. I mean, we've shipped, I think to date, we've shipped 130 copies of issue 1 and 125 copies of issue 2 to them to date so far, not counting what's on the campaign for that we have right now, which makes them, I believe, the second most sold location among the retailers who are carrying this now.
Wow.
Well, it may actually be the highest location because the retailer who has like the number one spot, they actually have 6 stores, and they've sold a lot of books, a lot.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. My first
I
show,
mean,
that business was 300 copies. So
nice. My wife Wendy, her first writer's credit was actually on the first collective. So yeah, that's really cool. You guys get to share that. I actually edited a couple pieces on that first one as well, so that was neat.
How'd she like?
So we all get.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead.
You were mentioning your wife. I was like, how did she like Reign of Ages?
Wendy, have you been able to read Reign of Ages yet? No.
Okay.
She hasn't been able to read it yet. That doesn't mean she didn't like it. We're both in the same boat where we, especially, and I've told this to a lot of people, I have a massive stack of great indies sitting here, but I also have a stack of scripts and stuff. And so it's like, people are like, well, you need to read a lot. Yeah, well, I do read a lot. I read it. Yeah.
I feel your pain with scripts.
Right? Man. Well, and it's other people's scripts too, right? So like, people are like, you have to read for enjoyment too, and it's like, well, it's hard to read for enjoyment when you read for business. And I was explaining this because someone was like, nah, I don't know. I was like, how about this? Try being the girlfriend to a gynecologist. Because I bet that you don't get the same kind of treatment that you might from other boyfriends who don't get to see the goods as often. And they were like, oh, I was like, yeah. Or even try dating a masseuse. I bet you she's not going to rub your back. You know what I mean? So certainly they're going to get read. I'm excited. But it does. Every time you pick up a book, you're just like, I could play a game. And and not read for a minute. So yeah, but I certainly want to, and I get that. Brian always brings the great questions.
Cool.
What drew you to making a samurai story? Any inspirations for the story as well? Oh yeah,
lots. I was a competitive martial artist for many years. I did a lot of studying of Bushido philosophy, Japanese history, Chinese history, and martial theory. Read the Book of Five Rings, of course, The Art of War more times than I cared to count. Everything I Could by Miyamoto Musashi, and even later Edo period writers. And then, of course, I was a huge fan of Akira Kurosawa. I think the first time I watched a Kurosawa movie was, I think I was 9 or 10 years old. And it just grabbed my attention and never let go. And so I had this fondness, this deep affection for samurai themed stories. And then I was basically putting together a list of projects that I was looking at approaching as far as comics go. And I remember I was online somewhere, and someone had shared out this this image of these 2 squirrels fighting with lightsabers, this little GIF thing that everyone's seen a million times. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And then right after that was this image of this squirrel in full samurai armor. And I was like, you know what? I could tell the story of the 47 Ronin with anthropomorphic squirrels, kind of like Usagi or TMNT, and we'll have this whole tale, and instead of just making it short and like the movies and everything, we'll actually go into like the some of the underlying story elements and some of the cultural elements, and bring in the espionage element and the tragedy of the death of the 47 and the triumph of the death of the 47, so that the reader can kind of make up their mind about how they want to interpret it. And it was really something just exploded in my brain.
When working with anthropomorphic creatures, did you feel like you had to give it like a Disney feel? Like, did you feel like you had to play a little more cartoony, or were you like, nah, these are just creatures who, like you would have treated the humans almost the same way?
Right, and it does. Like, we don't have any type of power sets related to what type of animal they are or anything. They're basically just anthropomorphic animals at human size. And originally we were going to make all the samurai squirrels, and then Alexia, again, this is my first comic, so I didn't realize what a bad idea that was at first brush. And we talked about it. It became very apparent because then you have trouble differentiating characters. And there's been some problems with other historical inspired comics in the past that have kind of had the same problem. You see that a lot with, like, especially like in the 70s, there was a number of comics that were Christian focused about the story of Christ. It was really hard in those to tell which disciple was which. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And so I should have known my lesson from that. But we talked about it and we're like, no, we'll do other anthropomorphic animals too, and that's worked out really, really well. Between the hamsters and the squirrels and the foxes and the rabbits, all of that, it's been really, really great. And the books come out much, much better for it. It's the same reason why superhero comics, all the superheroes have their own specific color palette and their own uniform and everything, and makes them more easily distinguishable. Unless you're the X-Men, in which case, for some reason, some of the X-Men were during the 90s, especially, everyone wore the same X-Men uniform. That's great.
Right.
X-Men are, so which X-Men is which? Well, that's Beast. That's easy. Now let's try and tell Havoc apart from Scott Summers, right?
There was, and I don't like to badmouth, especially professionals, but there was a certain artist who had a run on X-Men in the 90s, and I think he's worked on them even beyond that. I could not. Everyone seemed to love this guy, and to me, most of his characters seemed the same. And I was like, dude, the only way you can tell the difference is because of the fucking colorist. And that was something that really bugged me. So making that choice for yourself and going, no, we have to find a way to differentiate these characters. It is huge, and it is a big deal, because that was a massive turnoff to me.
And that was really from Alexia. Alexia is formally trained for comic book art and comic book creation, graphic design. She's a Cooper School graduate. She won a couple of scholarships while she was at the school, and has been proving she's worth every bit of it constantly the entire time I've worked with her, whether it's been on role-playing game work, 47 Furious Tales, or of course I also hire her to edit other projects within as far as comics go. And also had her edit Dungeons and Dames as the art director. So,
cool.
It's been really, really, really good working relationship. And hopefully as we get more product out there and have hopefully a larger audience coming to our crowdfunding campaigns, we'll be able to keep her more and more busy. Because that's the one thing about this: if you can keep your artists well paid and busy consistently, then they can spend their time being artists and less time working as baristas or car hops or stealing cars or whatever.
I want to meet the artist who's stealing cars. That's the one I want to work with.
Oh, gotcha. He's outside in your driveway right now if you want to step out there.
He doesn't want to steal my car. Go to my neighbors. They've got a better truck. In fact, they just moved in yesterday, and they already had a fucking party on a Monday night. So if you want help jacking their truck, I've got your fucking back, dude. No problem.
I don't. I work for the.
No. Whoever's about to steal my CRV, I'll help you take their lifted truck. I'm on it. I got your back. Brian Manell says games make great stories. That's a form of experience, a story in and of itself. Absolutely, it does. Yeah. He also said, it's hard to read for enjoyment when your mind is constantly on your projects. Looking at myself here. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing, too. Of course, that's a good reason to kind of get away from it. He said, Connie said the idea reminds them of Mouse. Certainly using anthropomorphic creatures in order to tell a historical tale. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can't differentiate characters easy by small clothing differences. It's true, but then at some point, those characters might change clothes, and then it gets messy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel you. There's tricks, but of course, and especially if you're telling a tale that's 12 issues long, anything can happen in that time. Um, I've done my share of work on historical fiction.
Right.
Um, and I remember one of the stories I love telling the most is working with Joseph Dewis on Crusade of Dracula. And one of my favorite stories is he had this thing is happening, and he's talking about he literally went back and did all of the information he could on Vlad Tepes Dracul the second,
Mhm.
and really interesting. And at one point, I was like, "Hey, man, this is really cool, but what if this happened? I feel like it would hit a little harder." And he said,
Mhm.
"Yeah, but that didn't happen." I was like,
Uh,
"Oh, okay." And he goes, "No, no, no. We're staying as tough into it as we possibly can." And I was like,
yeah.
"Yeah, okay, man. All right, sounds good." So, yeah,
We've had a little bit of creative license taken in the story because there's a lot of references in like the record on this, because you got to remember a bunch of the story was carried on after the incident occurred through theatrical performances in the area, and then there was of course a lot of historical data that was lost due to war, and not just during the Edo period or any of the subsequent states, but also the Second World War. It certainly caused some damage. Um, Thankfully, the shrine where they're interred survives to this day, and hundreds of thousands of people before the pandemic visited it every year. So it's definitely a place of great reverence. There's a lot of respect still paid to those fallen 47 samurai.
that's cool. That's really cool, man.
I'm trying not to sneeze. I'm so sorry.
Oh, dude, it's funny. I'm over here burping away and not burping. So yeah, yeah. You and I were both having issues.
Yeah.
And it's funny as we were talking about historical taking liberties.
Mhm.
Brian Manell ends up asking a question right along those lines. So yeah,
Right.
you answered it before he even got to it.
Well, like the one of the big things is the underlying story arc with the Grey Wolf bandits. Banditry was actually still a significant problem at the time, and was one of the things that the samurai who were still actually in that caste were charged with protecting against. It was one of the duties that was still very very important. I mean, we're talking about the early 1700s. So being able to bring that element to kind of use it not just as part of the underlying story, but also to display kind of how life was in some ways about that, I think was really a nice opportunity. And let's fill in some of the gaps where there was references to some things that had been done by Kira to, basically set Asano up to take the fall for what was basically, again, history is as history is for this. Kira's largely thought to have been a very corrupt official in the shogunate.
Okay.
And whereas Asano, history looks very kindly upon him as someone of pristine character, largely pristine character, which means there's probably some stuff that we never know about, that the worst is just lost to time. But he's very highly regarded in how he approached his duty and his obligation and relationships to other people in society. So it's definitely an interesting dichotomy between this tale of power and corruption, and a person of significant stature who still is trying to do the best and be the best version of himself he can, and then eventually falls victim to his own pride, falling to the trap of the corrupt official who's been baiting him. And it's interesting that if he had just been willing to pay Kira off we would probably never have any particular special knowledge of Asano Naganori. But his commitment to what he thought was right led to his downfall and made him a legend.
Okay, that's wow. I mean, that's probably what what allowed us to understand enough to be able to tell the stories in the first place, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, people thought highly enough of it that they went out of their way to keep the story alive. I mean, for the first many decades, it was prohibited to speak of the incident, but yet it was still carried around and told through these theatrical performances. And then Dutch traders actually kind of came into contact with the story through those theatrical performances and carried that back with them. And it became a pretty well-known story of Japan in Europe by virtue of those Dutch traders. And so it kind of led to a lot of preconceptions, which actually worked very much in Japan's favor. For many folks who had not been to Japan, the idea of the samurai was this pristine, idyllic, honor unto death warrior, and that I think the image still sticks with us very much today.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, I feel like we've gotten into this an awful lot. Moving past that a little bit,
Sure.
if you were able to do something like this again, though with a different moment in time or a different story or whatnot, is there one that's excited you to want to dip your toes back into historical fiction again?
Yes, yeah, there are actually several, and not just in Japanese history, Chinese history, but also Mexico, Peru, Colombia. There's some really interesting tales, especially in Peru. There's some really magnificent tales there that I think should be told. And then, not even going back into very distant history, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for historical fiction from the 1960s, particularly the latter half of the 1960s. I think that that would be interesting task to tackle. And there's a couple of stories there I want to do, and then there's another story that I want to bring that will probably be in like little short ash cans. And I've got to talk to someone about that because I need some information on, as weird as this sounds, I need information on psychedelic mushrooms as part of the story element. And so I've got
as far as like you need someone who's done them before, or
well, yeah, that would help too. But I'm talking mostly about botanists, but yeah, I mean that will help also. So I'm doing some research on that as well.
we can talk afterwards if you need.
Definitely.
I'm not saying that I've done it, but I am saying if you need to talk, I'm around.
Okay, cool deal.
Well, no, because yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying. For me, even like American history, I know very little. Especially, there. It sounds terrible. There's so much of the American history that they kind of cram down your throat. That kind of the patriotic. We hear about the Civil War. We hear about a lot of that kind of stuff. But I actually find America has this very tumultuous history with itself, and I love checking out a lot of those things. So one of the things that I got to see that I knew absolutely nothing about was on I guess it may have been on the History Channel originally, but I found it on Netflix and I've watched it twice now already, was the story of the Chicago 7.
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting story, and I found myself yelling at the judge and interested in the whole thing, and just the way it all came together, I was like, wow, this feels like it was written for a movie. Like it just the actual story was just so interesting. And so yeah, man, I love when someone can take history and kind of bring it to us and really excite us. And you're right, Connie, it is research time. It's almost always research time. Actually, funny, speaking of research, I did a piece for I did several pieces for the upcoming Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. And I will be honest, I don't know Cthulhu or Wonderland that well. I did read the Wonderland books as a kid, but I'm not someone who like fell in love. And what's fun about the Wonderland is we don't necessarily push ourselves on one version, and I got to have a lot of fun with kind of making my own. So one of my characters was the caterpillar. So I got to kind of take my own version of the caterpillar, and as I spoke with Chris Mad, the artist, I was like, everyone makes the jokes about how there's the periphery of like drugs is very much kind of on the periphery of that story, but I feel like no one ever out and out comes out and goes, it was drugs, And
Right.
I thought, I kind of just want to do that. I kind of want to rip down the veil, and that's just sort of the guy I am, where I want to go, nope, it was drugs, let's do it. And having a character like Caterpillar, that was a lot easier for me to do. And so I wrote my script, and I had my idea and whatnot, and I pitched it to Chris Mad, and he was like, how do you see this character? And I was like, well, if you kind of see how he was written and whatnot, I had very much like a Tommy Chong kind of ideal to it. And he was like, yeah, but there's also this dark side to him that you wrote. And he goes, that's not Tommy Chong. And so he kind of helped show me that it was actually more a mixture of Tommy Chong and Charles Manson.
Okay.
And so that's the ideal that we took, and sort of the inspiration that we took. We got to play with it a little bit, and yeah, man, and then at that point you want to, and I actually, the funny thing is, I know more about Manson than I do about the other things, so it's like, that's easy. But in working on that, I also got to do things like,
but yeah, you should interview Tommy Chong sometime.
Well, yeah, I actually have a friend who got to interview Tommy Chong, and I thought that was brilliant. Yeah, I would interview him in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a douche to myself because I don't work super hard to get a lot of these people, and I think I have bigger imposter syndrome as an interviewer than I do as a writer editor.
Oh wow.
I feel like I've worked a lot harder as a writer and editor. And so when something happens, I'm like, yeah, I kind of fucking deserve that. But as an interviewer, I'm like, you don't deserve that. And really, at the end of the day, it should be reversed. Because in a lot of ways, anyone can interview anyone. You know what I mean? Like, that's not as big a deal. Really, is any of it. But still, like, that's not as big a deal. So, yeah, it's just kind of funny, but that's where my head's at.
Yeah, see, the imposter syndrome is strong with this one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was that really difficult when, we're talking about this licensing deal you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Did that make that, like, what was that like, having to deal with that and say, hey, I'm your guy?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I try not to think about it until after, like, I have a meeting, and then after I have a meeting, I sit back, I take a deep breath, and then I cringe. Then I'm like, oh. But then the thing about it is that I've done the research, I've done the numbers, I know the material, I know the IP, and I've learned a lot about making comics, over the last 3-4 books. Soon to be, it's hard. It's crazy to think that at the end of the year there'll be 4 more on top of that, and I'll go from 3 to 9. Right? I mean, it's insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah. And then next year will next year it'll be even more. It'll be probably 15 books next year.
Well, for those of you out there who know this guy as much as I do, those, when you look at the back, those boxes are all those are printed books.
Yes. So
I'm gonna take a line from Jaws and say, if you keep that shit up, you're gonna need a bigger office.
I am gonna need a bigger office. But my home office is in my apartment, and my little girl and I have been here for years, so I'll probably put some shelves up or something, or some racks, until I can, get enough to put a down payment on a house or something. Because I don't want to move again until I'm moving into someplace I'm paying a mortgage on.
That makes
But
sense.
but yeah,
Well, I was gonna say, have you thought about having getting like a? Yeah, there you go. Look at that.
it's
Have you?
so pretty.
Oh, it is. It is. One. That's why. That's your avatar as well. Your profile picture.
Yeah, one of them. I swap them
Yeah.
out depending on the story at hand. I just haven't swapped that one out yet. And we got some cool buttons. I've got a contract in with an artist, Yasam Samir, and he did a piece as a fan art piece that I had to have. So we talked, wrote up a contract, and I'm just waiting for him to sign it so I can get him paid. Nick Capone and I came to a deal, and Nick colored it and got a contract for Nick. And I'm taking that image, and we're doing stuff like buttons and some other cool stuff to go along with it, which I realize sounds like okay. But when I say I'm doing the button, let me show you something. This thing is really pretty, which I realize sounds like a really weird way to put that, but it's a pretty button. It is. It's a pretty button. So let me get in
That's
here.
sick.
Let me get this so I can show it to you. I'm really proud of how this turned out. Let me get this, and then I will. Now, mind you, these should be in about 10 days.
Ooh, okay.
What do you think?
Oh, is it in the get? Yeah, here we are. Add to stream. Bam. Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, I really like that. Yeah, that's really nice, dude.
So those are 2.25 inches across. Really, really looking forward to getting those in. My little girl is dying to get one to put on her backpack.
That's cool. Who'd you do that through?
The people producing it are Sticker Mule. So
Okay.
they're produced here in the United States. Excuse me. And then we'll get those in, and gonna take them to a con I'm going to April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Take that and books and RPG stuff, which is yeah. You can't see over here, but a bunch of the RPG stuff is over on this side, out of line of sight, because I just can't fit everything right now. So we're going to be taking Death Comes to Glenfollow and a bunch of maps and RPG stuff, and just really making it. Oh, and I almost forgot. We're also taking. I'm almost out of these already. The Dungeons and Dames book we did last year.
Oh yeah, that's
this
nice.
was a project we did to benefit the artists on that, and basically we took and I went ahead and did all the trademark and copyright stuff out of pocket. We kickstarted this, got it produced,
Ooh.
and then we fulfilled it and equally divided all of the remaining books between all of the contributors and myself. And then that was the revenue, because you know as much as I do, you make more money selling books than you do trying to get like a couple of dollars out of the Kickstarter campaign, right? So
Yeah.
and actually I was talking to several members of the team on that. Almost everyone's been sold out for months, so we're probably going to go ahead and pass the hat around, put a kitty together, and go ahead and just do another order so that we all have it for con season.
That's sick. Brian Manel says history can make for great stories in general. Absolutely, it can.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. The story of humanity is
Yeah.
full of all kinds of beautiful and horrific things, and being able to pull those together is, a wonderful challenge sometimes.
And Connie says, by the way, good docuseries on drugs, mushrooms, and otherwise is Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. Biology, chemistry, different cultures. See, this woman is doing her first cover this year is going to be for Belial 3. And everyone's sitting on her cover, drinking and having a good time. So if anybody knows a good time and drugs, I bet you it's Connie. Is that terrible, Connie? That's a terrible thing for me to say, isn't it? I meant it with all the love, hon. I meant it with all the love. Oh man, There we go. Want to get our heads all up there.
There we go.
Cool, dude. If guys, we're heading up to that hour, but if you have any more questions, feel free to send them our way. We're down with continuing to talk longer. Hey, how you doing, Jesse?
We started early, so hey.
We did, yeah. Oh, excuse me.
And interestingly enough, we picked up one new backer during the stream, so thank you very much, folks.
Fantastic. That's awesome, man. Yeah. And like we said, Sam has 47 Furious Tales, which is on Kickstarter right now, and he also has 47 Furious Tales story that is in The Collective, which is another amazing Kickstarter with all sorts of... Who else is on that? Do you remember what other books or stories are in that? I know Heather Gibb is in that with Pup Van Winkle.
That's the one I really remember because Heather's such a wonderful person. I think.
Oh,
very,
absolutely.
Very she's just absolutely fantastic. That's the one I'm really looking forward to with that is Heather's. Which I guess sounds kind of bad for me not paying attention to everyone else, but I saw Heather was there. I was like, I'm pledging. I know I've already got work in it. I know I'm already getting copies, but I'm pledging because we need to make sure this happens. So
that's sweet. Good man. Connie says, "Love's back, dude. Bottoms up." Yes. Have you watched Batman?
I have not.
Me neither. So I can't say anything.
Yeah,
sorry.
Single dad with my little one here at home and working during the day, doing all this after she goes to bed. Active Kickstarter campaign and 4 more campaigns, for comics this year. I just haven't had time.
Honestly, and I'll say it out there, folks, and be as mad at me as you want. I'm all Batmaned out. Just had so much Batman over the years, and I'm just tired of seeing different versions of Batman and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I was like, look, I'm not saying it's gonna be bad or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't feel like it right now. I didn't even watch, and I'm more of a Marvel guy anyways. So I went and watched Uncharted, and I had a good time.
I'm looking forward to seeing Batman. I kind of want to see it with one particular person, this one friend of mine. And
okay.
That's just there's got to be some very careful planning to make that happen.
That seems fair. Good. Yeah. Jesse says it's only 3 hours.
Yeah.
I just watched Braveheart the other day, and I would rather watch that again than have to go see a 3-hour Batman movie right now.
I'm telling you, I bet it's pretty good. I mean, a lot of people have said some wonderful stuff about it.
Like I said, yeah, and I have heard some really good things from people I respect. I'm just, like I said, all Batmaned out. Oh my gosh. This was interesting. Michelle Jacobs says, mushrooms and research. I'll speak with you after the program. What was the original question from Sam? Both of you are super artists, excluding the stories you create. Wishing many blessings. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that, Michelle. That's really sweet of you. Yes, Braveheart does rock. Fuck yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Brian says the last superhero movie I watched was Captain Marvel in 2019, so I'm not feeling the drain as much as I used to. But yeah, it's kind of overdone on the Batman front, at least. Right, like there's so many other characters with stuff coming out. I'd rather see new stuff than, hey, we're gonna do another version of Batman. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a huge X-Men fan, and that's the only reason I'm good with seeing the X-Men again, because I feel like the last couple of movies have not been great. It was so bad that I didn't watch Dark Phoenix, and Dark Phoenix is like one of my favorite. I'm mad Claremont guy, so the fact that I didn't go see that just says a lot. So I'm actually hankering for a new X-Men lineup. But like I said, I've seen a million Batman in my life. I've lived through so many of them that I'm good for now, man. I'm good.
I'm sorry if you're hearing that engine noise in the background. I have a neighbor across the street who is revving his stuff tonight.
And, I'm not picking up on it at all, if that makes you feel better. We're not getting it at all.
It does. I can actually hear it through the headphones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not hearing him.
He's...
Small penis?
I don't know. I wouldn't
well, but you know what the small penis syndrome, where it's like they have to have the loud muffler and the shiny truck because you know that they probably have a small dick.
I've heard about
Without
that.
you have So I'm just saying.
I've heard about that.
Do you think it's small dick syndrome, or is there something different going on with it?
No, I don't even have to go that far. I think he's just an asshole.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's. I mean, this is the same guy who, when it snowed, was throwing snowballs from his porch at the kids that were trying to sled down the church hill. You know, I'm like, what a dick. Sorry for the language, but he's a jerk.
Travis came in volumes 1 and volumes 2 of Tales from the Collective in the house. Hell yes, buddy. That's awesome. You're damn right.
Travis Gibbs, what's up, man?
I was saying that earlier, homie. I was like, I said, I was in volume 1. You're in volume 2.
I'm thinking about going down to Altamonte Springs in July after I do the thing at Garden State in the first week of July. Thinking about going down and popping in to see the Collective and everybody.
Let me know when you go, because I think that there is stuff happening down that way anyways, and I know Wendy and I have almost made it a yearly trip at this point, so we might end up heading at the same time. But yeah, love going down there, and we've been to the Collective a couple times now. Great dudes.
Yeah. I got invited to a con as a guest, if you can believe that, in October down in Louisiana. With they're covering hotel accommodations, table, the whole nine. I'm not sure how that happened, but you know, my first time was something like that, being invited as a guest. I'm like, okay, I'm excited.
Wow. Well, which one is that? Because I might be able to. That's not far from me.
Yeah, I don't actually remember the name of the con. It's in my calendar, but I've got my invite, and we've got to finalize like hotel arrangements and a couple other things. But I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna actually drive because I want to drive through Mississippi and see my dad for a couple of days, and then hop over the border into Louisiana and just kick around and do the con thing. You know.
Get me the info on that one, because I'd love to do one in Louisiana.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's like, for me, that depending on where in Louisiana it is, that's less than a day trip. Like, I can easily do that.
I'm gonna take and also reach out to there's a con in Indiana next month, middle of April, I think. And I don't know if they still have any openings left. I'm gonna see if I can get some space on that. I think Henri Compton's going, and if Henri's going, it'd be good.
I did hear him say that. Yeah,
it'd be really good to meet Henri in person. And I'm in Kentucky, so it's literally just an hour to cross the border, and like a 2 hour drive.
As someone who met Henri, he's a good motherfucker. He and I are really tight. He's a great dude. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the world of Henri. He's been nothing but kind. Nothing but kind.
Yeah, absolutely. But I
think you and I were calling him at the same time the other day, because he just friends had to call friends, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We did get some chats though. Connie says looking forward to Moon Knight. See, I don't know the character that well, but I'm interested to see what they do. And what's great about that is, yeah. So if it sucks, I'll be like, nah, oh well, and I can move on, because I don't necessarily love the character. But there's been lots of characters that they brought into the MCU that I knew nothing about and ended up falling in love with. So
the thing that gets my attention is all the detail on the costuming they've done. I mean, just the images they've released so far, just so tight, you know.
Right.
So I mean, unless the writing is horrible, I think it's going to be really something to remember. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis says Volume 1 is better. Volume 1 was better. It's true. But Volume 2 is still solid. Brian Manel says, are you planning on doing Western stories as well, since they have some similarity to samurai stories?
Yes. Actually, I have a...
You look like someone who's not a stranger to an old Zane Grey novel.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I used to read, you know, Zane Grey and Louis L'Amour all the time when I was a kid in the 70s and the 80s. And I'll tell you that I have actually written a Western. I was paid to ghostwrite a Western. So I can't say which one, because I think it's coming out next month. So, but the check cleared and the contract's good, and I know I wrote it and the money's spent. So
that's the important part. That's cool.
The funny
Good
part
for you.
is that was the money that actually paid for the cover for Reign of Ages #1 that I got from Icicle Smith.
I love that.
I recycled that cash like crazy. It's like,
Oh yeah, right.
so.
No, I feel you.
But yeah, a Western would be good. I would like to tackle, as weird as it sounds, I'd kind of like to do the Alamo, the story of the Alamo.
Hmm.
But I'm almost tempted to do a spoof of this Saturday Night Live skit that was done where they have the Alamo and like time travelers come in and Doctor Who shows up and then aliens come down and all these people come down to try and help Davy Crockett and they're like, we can get you out. And he's like, no, I gotta stay here and defend Texas. And they're like, you're gonna die. And he's like, only if they kill me. And they're like, well, yeah, that's what we're saying. They're about to kill you. So I kind of want to do that, but I mean, I'm worried it would just be too much of a rip-off of the Saturday Night Live skit. It was just so well done.
I mean, what I will tell you is, as someone who could be at the Alamo in less than an hour, if that is something you decide to do, hit me up.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been to San Antonio. Long time. I mean,
Right?
like 1988, I think. Well,
Oh wow.
no, 92. I was there for 92 for a couple of days. I had a work assignment, but I didn't get to do anything other than keep this one guy under control for a couple of days, and then I got to go home. Thank God. He was such a pain in the ass.
It sounds like it.
He was. That's the downside of bodyguarding people is that sometimes
Right.
you guys to just do everything they can to put themselves in the worst possible situation.
I can believe it, man.
Yeah, like we're gonna put you in the car. We're gonna take you home. I'm not done drinking yet. Oh yes, you are.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh yes, you are. Trying to pick fights with bikers and who were eating at a wing joint, and we're like, why are you trying to pick fights with guys 3 times your size?
He's trying to pick fights because he knows that he's got you.
Well, it wasn't just me. I was the smallest guy on the force. He had like the whole team assigned. He was paying.
No, but that's what I mean, right? Like he knows he's got backup, so he's going to be a bigger asshole than normal.
Yeah, but that isn't how we worked, you know.
Yeah.
So we ended up just packing him up, throw him in the car, take him home. He was mad,
Smart.
but no one got hurt. No,
that's the important part.
No one bled.
Right?
Yeah.
Brian says, since you're writing historical characters, how much are you writing from their perspectives and voices and writing from your own? How do you personally handle that sort of balance?
That's a really good question. So from 47 Furious Tales is the historical piece. And so it's written very much from a third person perspective where we're trying to, like, we don't use like thought bubbles in this. And, you know, we have a lot of, during action scenes, we have a lot of silent panels. So it really focuses on the action. And we let the actions of the characters kind of tell the story. So you get a feel for the personality of the person through direct observation, which is one of the reasons it was important to start the story back before Asano Naganori undertook his trip to Edo. Like, for example, we're in book 3, and he just literally like the last page or second to last page, something like that in issue 2 was when he was mounting up and getting ready to leave. And now in book 3, he's actually on the road to Edo. And so we've got a lot of things that are happening that are basically trying to tell the story of what we piece together for the personality of these characters. Yasube and Yahe, for example, and their relationship as one being an older, very much so older, accomplished warrior who had been in faithful service to the lords of Ako for a long time, and the other being a young, fiercely capable warrior, a very large man for the day. I mean, very, very large man for the day, who was so impressive that this older samurai, and we're talking, this is a man who was in his late 60s or early 70s at the time when this happened, was so impressed by this man that he invited him to marry his daughter and enter in service under his house in service to Asano, because he was that impressed by him. You're talking about a warrior that's that old in a period where you had some people who were old by virtue of sitting on their butt and, you know, having a nice cushy job in the shogunate. And then you have this guy who was training other samurai, fighting bandits, foiling different assaults and stuff. He was a guy who basically fought with a sword for 50 years. And when someone with that kind of experience is so blown away by your capability, I think it speaks volumes to their capability and their character. And we try to write that into the story so that you see how that's approached.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, which is why we have the scene in issue 1 where he's our big huge warrior is actually paying a visit on a commoner who actually is well thought of and checking on him because he had become ill and finds that it's getting worse and no one sent for a doctor because of expense. And he's like, no, we're not going to have that. And he comes out of his own pocket to get a doctor sent for to get him treated. And you'll see that kind of thing in subtle nods to the underlying character of these people throughout the story.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So basically trying to read between the lines of what history tells us.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
So that we can really come to, everything just started popping up with notifications on like emails I just got all at once. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Nothing critical, I'm sure. It'll wait. It's probably just Kickstarter. Hey, a creator you follow has pledged to this campaign and this campaign, and this campaign. I'm like, well, now that I follow like 40 different comic creators and 50 different RPG creators, let's go through 40 different emails.
Oh, I know it, dude. I feel you there. Yeah. Jesse Michaels asks, Chuck, Sam, are you guys familiar with Elden Ring?
I have heard of it. I have never seen it played, nor have I played it.
I am familiar with it. I have not played it, and I'm not excited to because of the style of game it is. I know a lot of people will come back and they'll go, oh, it's got story, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but that story is more in the realm of lore. I'm not as interested in lore. I like the lore of things, too. I like, a game having lore, but I need some direct story. I need some back and forth, some dramatic moments between PCs and NPCs, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like this is just a slaughterhouse of fight. And I'm not as interested in that. So I like to be able to take the back seat now and then. And in games like this, I don't feel you can.
I actually had a lot of fun. There's an MMO out there that's still going strong. That when you say the name out loud, people cringe a little bit, but it's EVE Online. And I played EVE Online for about 5 years, I guess 6 years. And the story on there is really one of the players, because you have different conflicts and different things that come up, and it is really a very brutal game in a lot of ways. But there's some really cool stories that come from that. Everything from epic betrayals to heroic sacrifices and fierce battles in space, strange alliances, odd bedfellows, and then some of the things that the devs throw in on top of that every once in a while. They're like, oh, that's neat. Now let's get back to the tale of the band of brothers versus these other yabos that they want to fight. Yeah. Just that kind of thing. It's like they've always been good about adding content, but the problem with that is that that story, when it's one that's basically not something scripted, it's something that's just actually happening in a living community like that gets really, really immersive, and it can eat up a bunch of your time. And so you'll every once in a while, still today, you'll see little news articles pop up because some epic space battle has happened and they've converted the value of the fleet that was destroyed to actual currency. This, when they compare it to what those priced out at. And like some of these battles have done $120,000 worth of gear destroyed, and it's just fierce action. Yeah, I mean, not that anyone's spending $120,000 playing EVE. At least we hope not. But I guess there's always going to be someone who's willing to pay for credits, and that's where you're going to have your price points at.
Right? Yeah. No. Absolutely. Michelle Jacobs says, "Bad boy Chuck. Sam is being selective in his comments. He's on air. You don't mince your words. Tell it like it is. Those motherfuckers love you." You know what though? To be fair, Sam has a career, and he has to think about that career when he's doing this kind of stuff. Me, this is my career, so I have home plate advantage. So I do have the advantage of being a little bit of a dick because this is my space. He's welcome to, but I know him well enough. He's got to watch his tail at least until he retires.
And when I swear, people get surprised for some reason. I'm not sure what happened. Like, I was actually on with Max and Larry and a bunch of others, and they had this one person come on showing this thing that had been done. And I remember I swore because I was really, I mean, it was I didn't want to see what this person was doing on their broadcast. I mean, it wasn't pornographic or anything. It was just despicable. And I swore and I said something, and everyone in the whole chat room just stopped and was like, "Did Sam just say that?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, don't know what to think about that now."
It means more when you say it. That's true. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I disappointed everybody or if I just stunned them.
I would say stun. That would be my guess. Of course, I can't speak for them. Connie had to jet, but yes, thank you, hon. We really appreciate it. And actually, okay, so Jesse says something really interesting. He says that you look like Robert the Bruce, and I agree with that.
Oh, do I really?
Yeah, you do. From Braveheart.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, you do.
I'll take that as a compliment then.
Yeah. Good looking dude. Yep, definitely. He was the Scottish king. Yeah. No, that's cool, dude. Do you have any final words to kind of say before we start to wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah. If you would, guys, take a moment, take a look at the collective campaign, take a look at Max DeVille's campaign, which is Ninja Bimbos versus Zombies from Deep Space. It's hilarious. Some really good jokes in there. Take a look at Godslayers. Come by and sing 47 Furious Tales. If you like what you see, pledge what you can, get your copies. And just as important, if you would, share the links for those campaigns online. If you've got a podcast or a streamer, you know a podcaster or streamer, then hey, Danny, what's up, brother? If you know a podcaster, streamer, or YouTuber who likes that kind of content, have that person tap us on the shoulder. All of us love talking about our stuff and introducing our materials to new folks. Don't forget that Chuck is editing basically 20% of all indie comics on Kickstarter right now. So be kind and just give a nod when you see it. Like, hey, I've got a Chuck book. I actually tried for a year to back every campaign Chuck was on, and I had to decide I still need to pay my light bill. So
I apologize to your wallet.
it was oh man, it hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
I bet
it hurt.
I will tell you, this year's going to be worse. So I'm glad you're not doing that anymore.
I'm probably going to do 4 for you, I think.
Right?
4. I think I can do 4 for you.
Okay. Well, save that for Belial, and we've got Wendy's book, Fiscarian Tales, coming out.
Yeah, definitely Belial, definitely Wendy's book. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're doing another novella, if I hear correctly, right?
Novel, yes. Yep.
Yeah. So that excuse me, that was me. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that too.
Awesome.
I think
Thank
that should
you.
be a lot of fun. And I may actually I'll try to make time to read it. Actually, as weird as it sounds, this week I've had 8 different people come to me asking about adapting their content to comics and graphic novels.
Oh wow, good for you.
I mean, the only thing I can do is look at what their content is. And if it's something that fits, then maybe we'll do it. And if not, I can at least tell them how they can go about getting it done themselves.
Yeah.
And if I can do it by working hard and learning from my mistakes, then I think anyone who's willing to work hard and learn from their own mistakes, and hopefully from my own mistakes and everyone else's mistakes who's willing to talk about it, then maybe we can get some really cool stuff out there. 47
That's awesome, dude.
Furious Tales.
There you go. So look out for all those books. While we're talking about books to look at, in 3 days' time, We've got Cthulhu Invades Wonderland happening. Your boy Chuck will be on that one, so definitely check that one out. And a bunch of other incredibly talented people. At that point, I'll be on 5 books. The other 4 books are, as we said earlier, Immortal Era 6. Fantastic post-apocalyptic story that's out there right now. We've got Cthulhu Invades, or no, what? Cthulhu is Hard to Spell. Battle Royale is out there right now. That's another fantastic one. Clarity Girl and Base Force is out there. And then if you happen to be someone who enjoys Zoop, go to Zoop and check out Shuffle, which is also another fantastic superhero book to check out. So much great stuff happening, guys. Absolutely amazing. And guys, all of you out there, thanks so much for coming out. Sam, thank you for coming, man. I appreciate you. Where can people track you down?
I can be found online at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Sonoma Publishing is the pages for the Facebook and the handles for the other 2. On Facebook, my personal account is still open to the public. You can see all the weird stuff I get into. That's William Samuel Quinton, and you'll see like some of the strange stuff I post. I'm not one of those guys who really fights on the internet that much. I find it a big waste of time. So I try to celebrate creators and respect other people's opinions. That doesn't mean that I agree. It just means that I try to respect other people's opinions. So and I try to get along with everybody.
That's good news, man. And you know what? You guys know where to find me because you're here. And I'll be here again next week talking to the incredibly talented Adelia Gunderson. We're going to have a fantastic show. Of course, Sam knows all about that young woman.
What are you trying to say, Chuck?
You guys have worked together.
Yes. Adelia is a wonderful lady, fantastic artist.
Yeah.
We actually had her, she shared table space with us at Garden State last year as well. And she has an illustration that is the first time anyone other than Alexia has had an illustration inside of 47 Furious Tales book. And so she is page 23 on the book. And it's a beautiful piece that she did. Very, very happy to have her work on it. And 23? Maybe she's page 24. No, I'm going to second guess myself. Anyways, the end, right? The end of it. And she did a fantastic job. And of course, all artists on that project have already been paid. We are, ahead of the game, I guess is the best way to put it.
So keep pledging, get in there and get all sorts of amazing books, guys. Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate having you on, man. I love it when you come out.
I love being here. And Adelia is wonderful, guys. So if you had fun here tonight, Adelia is going to absolutely blow your mind. She's a fantastic lady and an immense talent, highly skilled professional. Strongly recommend.
There you go. Guys, we'll see you all next week. My name is Chuck. I give a fuck. Take care of yourself.